Good evening and welcome to a special edition of the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. Tonight, unlike many others in mass media, we'll dedicate this entire program to an existential threat to the United States. Now, for those of you who are products of the government-run school system, that means this threat can destroy our freedoms, our liberties, security, and prosperity. Everything that makes America, America. The threat we will address tonight is Communist China. As we mentioned, many TV or radio programs refuse to talk about this threat. They do so at the behest of their favorite political party, the Socialist Democrats. Like Neville Chamberlain did in the UK in the face of the Nazi threat during World War II, today's Democrat socialists and their enablers in the biased press seek to hide or downplay the depravity, inhumanity, and wretchedness of the Chinese Communist Party. I believe I know why. We'll unpack the threat and why the anti-American Democrat Party is working tirelessly to make sure you can't react to that threat until it's too late. Communist China, the biggest threat to the United States. That's our focus in tonight's preamble. What is the nature of the Communist Party of China? First, they are repressive, inhuman, racist slavers. China's government is full of racists who hate black people. Honest writers and broadcasters, which excludes the vast majority of the American press and organizations like the NBA, have chronicled and condemned China's intense hatred of black people. From Foreign Policy to the Huffington Post, brave writers have condemned China's racist ways. Last year, a guy by the name of Jason Whitlock landed on Fox News, blasting racism enablers like LeBron James, saying, quote, LeBron and other stars go over to China every summer and make money. And that's what drives me crazy about these guys. They're not blind to how racist China is towards black people, but because all these elite athletes can go over there and collect $1 million or $500,000 over the summer, they just look the other way as it relates to China's racism. It's the ultimate hypocrisy, and it's player-driven. It's childish and immature, end quote. Whitlock is 100% correct. But the NBA is hardly alone. While ABC, NBC, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and other biased news agencies falsely attack Republicans and conservatives as being racist, they turn a blind eye to China's racism because, well, there's too much money at stake and other things. Currently, China enslaves 3 million Uyghur Muslims. That's an estimate. These Muslims are forced to endure barbaric treatment, including forced abortions. It bears pointing out, communists reject all forms of religion. They, like Democrat socialists here in the United States, they think that government is the only legitimate supreme being. China is also a government of thieves. China, suffering under the collectivist yoke, doesn't have the brain power nor the profit motive to create innovative and groundbreaking scientific or technological breakthroughs. Being limited by their backward ideology, they are forced to steal intellectual property so they can pretend to be an advanced nation. They have stolen technological secrets as well as defense secrets from the United States. Our taxpayers spend the money, make the money, China reaps the rewards. Back in the 1990s, Communist China had already stolen the technology to develop nuclear weapons. But they lacked the technology and know-how to guide said nuclear missiles to their intended targets. Enter the Clinton administration. During Bill Clinton's watch, China was allowed to steal guidance systems technology. In an interview with a sitting GOP congressman, I asked how much damage that theft caused. The congressman told me that before Clinton, the Chinese couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with their nukes. After Clinton, the Communist Chinese could put a nuclear missile into a window in Chicago if they so desired. And that leads me to the Socialist Democrat Party and their work on behalf of the Communist Party of China. As you all know, the United States just marked a solemn milestone. Over 500,000 Americans have died directly or indirectly from the China virus. This pandemic was intentionally released onto the world by Xi Jinping and Communist China. Joe Biden, in a speech marking the sobering number, mentioned his own personal grief and losses through his own life. He mentioned being able to feel the pain of those of us who lost loved ones to the virus. Yet he uttered not one word about the country responsible for more deaths than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined. Today, House Democrat Socialists Anna Eshchu and Jerry McInerney, both members of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, convened a hearing seeking to silence voices that they disagree with politically. These socialists contend that news channels like Newsmax TV, Fox, and OANN should be kicked off platforms that carry our programming due to, quote, misinformation. But that's not what's going on here. If misinformation were the target for Anna Eshchu and Jerry McInerney, they'd also be targeting CNN and MSNBC for their years-long lies on the Trump-Russia collusion scandal. They'd be targeting left-wing channels for their refusal to cover months-long violence being perpetrated by the Democrats' militant arms of BLM and Antifa onto this country. Eshchu and McInerney would be filing ethics charges against Eric Swalwell for lying through omission about his affair with a communist Chinese spy. Or they'd be filing ethics complaints against Adam Schiff after he lied about President Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian president. But these little totalitarians did no such thing. It's not misinformation that's being targeted by Democrats, but news groups that call out socialist Democrats when they try to shove misinformation down the American people's throats. In other words, Democrats are targeting those who hold them accountable, those who oppose their anti-American agenda. One of their star witnesses, a woman by the name of Soledad O'Brien, a small-time competitor who has a long history of advocating for left-wing causes and policies. That's their idea of a witness to testify about more fair-minded outlets like Newsmax TV. Do you know who else targets their political enemies in this way? With sham hearings and cooked-up witnesses? Yeah, China. I don't think it's an accident that socialist Democrats are mirroring the conduct of the CCP. Democrats have much in common with their communist brethren. Think about it. China, too, silences all dissent against their regime. This reflects the efforts that are underway right now on Capitol Hill. Not one national Democrat has condemned communist China for their slavery, bigotry, theft, and intentionally causing the pandemic. In fact, Democrats seem eager to talk about anything else but China. And that has me thinking. Is the reason why Democrats have declared war on Newsmax TV because they're working on behalf of communist China to make sure programs like ours are not able to be seen by the American people? Think about this. If these socialists are not stopped, you might not be able to see our reports on information revealing the truth about America's greatest threat, China. Apparently, that's the way Democrats want it. I think it's fair to ask them,